What is going on, everyone? I want to talk about this article from mirror.co.uk. And is of a man who was a single father that ended up taking his own life due to just not being able to financially support his three kids, and for the fact that he was in debt and had only £5 in his account. Let's see. A debt-ridden single dad of three who had waited weeks for universal credit took his own life with just £4 left in his bank account. Philip Heron, who was 34, was trying to feed and clothe his family while out of work, falling behind with rent and trying to repay £20,000 in debt, including a payday loans of over 1,000% interest. He applied for government help, but the month-long wait for universal credit drove him deeper into debt. Now, I want to say this though. I don't know how it is in the UK, right? But I know in America, it's pretty easy for women to sign up for Section 8 and welfare, right? But see, the thing about Section 8 is actually a longer wait than welfare and food stamps. We got people can say whatever they want about America, but people, especially single mothers, for the most part, get a lot of free stuff. The same people that be complaining probably grew up on government assistance. Okay? And I don't know if a lot of other countries have that. You got all these people that want to push sort of like a socialist state, even though the government is already taking care of a good amount of people in this country. And there's a lot of kids who grew up with their mothers getting government assistance. Now, I believe men can get it too, but you don't really see it often, and it might be a little bit more difficult because a lot of times, again, I'm not too familiar with the ins and outs of getting Section 8. I know more about welfare and food stamps because growing up in my neighborhood, there were a lot of women who were getting it. But when it comes to Section 8, from my understanding, they do put you on like a waiting list. But for food stamps, all you have to do is be an out of work parent. And you can get signed up. And that process, it doesn't take a long time. I think it takes about a couple weeks, maybe about 2 weeks, I believe. I'm not too sure. That was the final nail in his coffin, said his grieving mom, Sheena, Derbyshire, 54. Philip's final act as he sat in his car on a quiet country lane on March 18th was to upload a picture of himself crying to social media. Minutes later, he was gone. He even left a note. He was a single dad. He was responsible. He's a single dad. He was responsible. He always had money before, and the kids had the best of everything. But Philip had quit his job as a factory worker recently to look after his young kids, and he got into debt, which must have been difficult for him. To suddenly have no money for them must have been very hard, and he was waiting for universal credit and just had about £4 when he died. When the people turn to the government for help, they're already desperate. To make them wait so long for payments is dangerous. There's no reason it should take that long. Philip already had problems, but I think this was the final straw. What I want to know is they didn't have a daycare system. They didn't have, because I know here the government will actually, especially if you have young kids, they will pay. I think especially if you have newborns, they will pay for the daycare. See, people to say whatever they want about America. America pays. They're willing to take care of people. Okay, whether you agree with it or not. Yeah, but this guy should have been able to get some type of assistance. But he said he couldn't wait a month. But what I want to know is, from the time he left his job, from the time he applied, he didn't have any money saved up in the meantime. He didn't have family members who he could have stayed with in the short term. I'm just looking at the different ins and outs, people, because I really, because what are those kids gonna do? Seriously, what are they gonna do? You're no longer here, but they're still here, and you have to think about that. I know this guy was at the end of his rope, but they have nobody now. That's all I'm saying. Universal credit, brought in by the coalition government in 2013 and rolled out nationwide since, was meant to replace a series of benefits with just one, but it is a paid monthly in arrears, meaning an average wait of 5 weeks for the first payment. Labor claims a delay drives families into debt, poverty, and eviction, and aims to reform it. Like many people, Philip was deeply in debt when, and without telling his family, he applied for universal credit. His death came as a complete shock, Sheena said. I couldn't understand why he'd do this. It was only later when Sheena pieced together what had happened. So he didn't tell his family. He was dealing with it on his own. But that's the thing, man. When you do something like this, I understand you're at the end of your rope. I understand that you feel like you have no one to really help you. You don't want to tell your family. You're in debt. But that's the thing. You're not here, but your family is still here. They still have to live with the fact that you're not here anymore. And I would hope that he would have understood that. But obviously not. And I don't know what's going on. I know the UK is very messed up. I've done articles about the UK before. And it's crazy, man. Because when you have somebody who you would think is a Caucasian male, he has the world at his fingertips, that everything would be easy. But when you hear about this lets you know that when people are struggling. And when they're not used to struggling, man, that is probably the worst thing. I just would have hoped that he wouldn't have had to go this route. Okay? Let's see. Papers in his home showed he owed around £20,000 to banks, utility firms, and payday lenders, which Sheena said 10,000% interest rates. She also found an eviction notice sent to him by Bernicia Homes Housing Association. And she discovered from his children that things got so bad at Christmas Santa had not come. But worse was to come when, after weeks of trying, she worked out the code to unlock his phone. Mama 6, Sheena trawled through emails and listened to months of calls he had recorded. I was trying to knit his life together, she said. You could hear him changing so much over those months. So she's going into detective mode. Like, she wants to know what's happening because he had no communication with his family. I think he just didn't want to feel like a failure to his mother, He used to be very quietly spoken, but in his recent calls and messages, he was often screaming. He loved his kids, but he started shouting at them, and you can hear him sobbing in calls. I heard him talking about taking his life to other people. I wish he told us how he was feeling, but we never knew. Listening to those last few months of calls, I was starting to ask myself, who is this person? He had changed so much so very quickly. If we didn't have his phone, his computer, we wouldn't have known what had been going on for him, it was like walking backwards through his life. It was the most heart-wrenching thing I'd ever done, because he did not want his family to know what was going on with him. This is crazy because you have a situation where he has, again, a family that is left behind. They're going to have to pick up the pieces for him. This is crazy. Now, again, if some of you who are more familiar with the UK government and how, their benefits are distributed, I know here, like for food stamps, for instance, they don't make you wait that long. They make you wait, a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks, I believe. Now, it's Section 8, you could be on a waiting list to get in a certain place, depending on what it is. Like, no, they'll give you like a place you can handpick. Probably not in the best neighborhoods. But if it's in a place that's like kind of decent, the waiting list is gonna be long. Even when it's not, the waiting list is gonna be long. But it shows you, man, a lot of these guys, man, are being put in situations that they're just not up for. As far as dealing with the stresses of it to the brink. And what I would like to know is, where is the mother? Where is the mother? I've seen no mention yet of the mother. Let's see. Let's see if I see a mention of the mother here. Because he should have been in like a Section 8 housing. But again, that takes a while, depending on where you want to move to. Boris Johnson and I will say what the universal credit is failing. I want to see if I don't see any mention of the mother. I don't know if she's gone as well. I'm not sure. But he definitely should have asked his family for help. Because he was basically in a situation that was super stressful. And the one thing I would have hoped that there could have been a different outcome than what actually happened.